Okay, so today we're talking about 1.6 continued complementary versus supplementary angles. So the definition of complementary here are two angles are complementary if their sum, which means add them together, is 90 degrees. So their sum is 90 degrees. So here's an example, right? Here is angle 1 and here is angle 2. So the measure of angle 1 plus the measure of angle 2 has to be 90 degrees. And notice that angle 1 and 2 are right next to each other, so we call these adjacent angles. Right there. Okay. And we also know they don't have to be adjacent, right? I could call this angle 3 over here and angle 4 over there, and I can still say the measure of angle 3 plus the measure of angle 4 is equal to 90 degrees. But notice those are not adjacent to each other, so they don't necessarily have to be. So these are not, these are non-adjacent. Angles. Right there. So complementary is the sum whose measure is 90 degrees, and we have a picture. And supplementary is similar, except that supplementary angles have a sum of 180 degrees. So complementary 90 degrees, supplementary 180 degrees. So here's an example here. If I gave you this is measure 5 and this is angle 6, right? The measure of angle 5 plus the measure of angle 6 has to be 180 degrees. Notice that that's a full straight line, right? 180 degrees, a full straight line. And these two happen to be adjacent angles, because they're right next to each other, just like that. And similar to complementary angles up here, they don't have to be next to each other, so they could be non-adjacent. So this could be angle 7 and this could be angle 8. So the measure of angle 7 plus the measure of angle 8 could also be 180 degrees, and those are non-adjacent angles. So they don't necessarily have to be right next to each other. Okay? So we've got complementary angles. Sum is 90 degrees. Supplementary angles, two sums 180 degrees. Okay, here's some examples for us here. Given angle A is complementary to angle C. So that tells me right away that the measure of angle A plus the measure of angle C has to be 90 degrees. It's given to me in the formula. And I know that the measure of angle A is 47. So now in my problem here, I can replace this with 47 degrees plus the measure of angle C has to be 90 degrees, and it's asking me to find the measure of angle C. So that means the measure of angle C must be 90 degrees minus 47 degrees. So the measure of angle C must be 43 degrees. And then part B says angle P is supplementary to angle R. Alright, so P and R have to add up together to be 180 degrees. So the measure of angle P plus the measure of angle R must be 180, definition of supplementary. And it's telling me that the measure of angle R is 36 degrees. So I'll plug that in. So the measure of angle P plus 36 degrees must be 180 degrees. I'm supposed to find the measure of angle P. So I'll take this up here and say the measure of angle P must be 180 degrees minus 36 degrees. So the measure of angle P must be 144 degrees. Okay, last example here. It's telling me that W and Z are complementary. So that means that the measure of angle W plus the measure of angle Z must be 90 degrees. And then it tells me that Z is 5 times W. So the measure of angle Z is equal to 5 times the measure of angle W. And then it wants me to find W. So I can replace this measure of angle Z with this. So now I have this. The measure of angle W plus 5 times the measure of angle W is equal to 90 degrees. So if you think of this as like a simple equation, if I had x plus 5x equals 90 degrees, well, notice that this part and this part is the same thing as x and x. So I could add them together to get 6x equals 90 degrees. So I'll do the same thing over here. So 6 measures of angle W degrees is equal to 90 degrees. So then I would divide both sides by 6, and I would have my answer. So I'll divide both sides by 6, divide by 6, 6's cancel out. So that means the measure of angle W is equal to 90 divided by 6 is 15 degrees. Okay, so in review, we've had complementary angles, 2 angles that add to 90, supplementary angles, 2 angles that add to 180. Both can be adjacent or non-adjacent. And we have 2 examples given complementary and supplementary, and then an example with using algebra. Okay, there you go.